I have a tip for you, and I'll explain why I think it's so important. The tip is, whenever you're starting a major change, and it doesn't matter what kind of a change it is, if it's a merger, if it's a reorganization, if it's trying to change the culture somehow to make it less risk averse, the first step is always getting a sense of urgency up among the people who will be affected, getting complacency down, and also any other negative feelings, anxiety, anger, nothing else. That's first. Now let me tell you why it's important. The vast majority of cases that I've studied over the years, that is not where people start. And I think it's directly linked to the fact that we have found that in 90% of the cases of significant change, people do not meet their aspirations that they had at the beginning of the change process. And in 20 to 30%, they will admit the whole thing was a complete failure and they had to abandon it or start over again. If you look at that 10% that do meet their aspirations, they get it done on time, on budget, without huge amounts of pain, always you find them starting with this sense of, let's get some urgency up that there is a problem, that there is a need for change, and complacency down. What do people often do besides that? They appoint a task force, and they say, this is your mission. Very common. They take 2 or 3 smart people, and they hire a consultant, and they go off into a room and start working on the solution to the change problem. They do either one of those, but with a veil of secrecy behind it, always with the logic being, we don't want to worry the troops, the people have got to get their jobs done today, we've got to meet quarterly results, worst case it gets out to the press, and that creates a problem that could even affect our stock price. The problem is, if you don't get urgency up first, it's almost like you don't create a solid basis on which you can build this new, different, changed organization. And if you do anything else first, it might work for a little while, but eventually when you're trying to, even when you're trying to pull people in to be a part of the change team, or if you're trying to get information from other people to create that strategy, or if you're trying to communicate that out, the basis isn't there for people to hear it, to want to hear it, to understand it. With complacency, people go, what? What's this all about? Why are you bothering me? This is a waste of time. So you got a brilliant strategy, and nobody wants to even hear about it because they don't get why you're worrying about the strategy. Or you're trying to pull Harry into this team that's going to make this thing work, and Harry's got 112 other things to do on his agenda. And maybe he politely says, okay, I'll do it. But he treats it on priority number 22. He comes to some meetings, misses some meetings, and is for all practical purposes useless because he didn't have the sense of urgency. This is, from the point of view of making big changes, a huge issue. People get it wrong all the time. You don't have to if you understand that simple tip.